At this time, we're back. Eric DeSobe here, joined by Bonnie. Bonnie, do I have this right? You used to teach at KIP back in the day?
I did. Yeah, I taught in Houston
Oh, nice.
ISD and then also for KIP. Yeah.
What age did you teach?
Gosh, I taught them all. When I taught in HISD, it was kindergarten and third, and then
Oh,
at KIP, it was eighth grade English.
well, that's a big jump. What was the
Yeah.
preference looking back? Did you like the older kids or the small ones?
I liked third and eighth grade. Kindergarten, it was also my first year, but I am not built for kindergarten. And so yeah, that one was really tough.
Yeah. Listen, I have a lot of questions about your LinkedIn premise. Before we hop into that, did someone woo you into the talent world? How'd you end up in the talent and recruitment space from the classroom?
Uh, Yeah, I wooed myself. So after a couple of years, I actually worked for Teach for America after teaching, and I was on the program side, so
Yeah.
sort of like the core member development. And I happened to be in a very like I moved from Houston to Oklahoma and helped like build up that region, and we were growing really quickly. And so a lot of my time honestly went to building my own team and
Hmm.
to recruiting people to Oklahoma because it wasn't really a region that core members were prioritizing, nor was it somewhere where staff wanted to come. We didn't really have a strong alumni base, so we had to really recruit. So a lot of my time went to like helping people see what they could build in Oklahoma, and I loved that part of my job. And so when I kind of felt like I'd done what I wanted to there, I was like, I want to transition into recruiting. And then Idea Public Schools, which is a charter network in a couple of states now, but
Yeah.
was only in Texas when I started with them, happened to be hiring someone to lead their recruiting teams. That was my first job in recruiting, was leading a TA team. And that was a really fun ride as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I kind of ended up in this space.
And do you consider yourself a talent person? If like a lay person asks at a party, "Hey, what do you do?" Do you say that? Do you say something else?
I
What do
should
you?
say I'm in recruiting for a tech company. Yeah.
Okay, that makes
I
sense.
feel like I've actually probably done like all of it, pretty the whole kind of people
Yeah,
spectrum, other than like the really kind of technical administrative HR stuff.
sure.
But I've had good exposure to pretty much anything in the people
Okay.
space.
Yeah, we'll talk about the tech stuff in a minute. But on LinkedIn, so I just am sort of fascinated by your approach and your presence and your frequent comments on seems like every post on my thread. Explain a little bit on your philosophy on how you're thinking through LinkedIn these days that folks might benefit from hearing.
Yeah. So, I felt like I was like well connected in education just through like the Teach for America and KIP networks. And so whenever we were hiring, I was able to tap my network and say, like, here's what I need. I could even post something. I was friends with a lot of
Mm.
these people on Facebook, like post on my Facebook, and I would get amazing referrals and be able to hire roles, pretty much through my network over and over again. And so when I transitioned from education into tech, I suddenly was like, I don't have that at all. I just
Mm.
do not know people in this space. And so I started posting on LinkedIn because I wanted to build a network that was more, aligned to my new company. Yeah, that's kind of how it started. And then I started just very much like seeing the impacts of that, where, you know, um, one, you start seeing people like engaging with your content and getting, excited about what you're talking about, which there's, sort of like dopamine hits that come with that. So that was like part of it. But then also, yeah, I was like seeing people who are like, I've never heard of your company, but it sounds amazing. And then, applying for jobs, getting all of these applications saying, oh, I saw a post from Bonnie on LinkedIn. And so, yeah, so then I started kind of seeking it out of if we're hiring for something, do a search for people and then kind of go comment on their posts and, connect with them that way. And it was just like a really great way for bringing people
Yeah.
into the
And
company.
are you doing this most often from your phone in the same way that I might be on Instagram for a second or TikTok for a second? Like, how do you actually like even engage in this way so frequently?
Yeah. I have LinkedIn open like all the time. And so mostly I do it on my computer during my workday. So, I'm hanging out, I'm doing some stuff. I have, 10 minutes. I might go and see what's on my feed and go
Yeah.
comment, write a post. I've told people before I used to just like excessively post like on my thoughts on things on Facebook, and now I don't do that as often because I just do it on LinkedIn instead. So it's like not a new mechanism for me to be like
Yeah.
sharing my thoughts on topics of importance to me. It's just a different, platform. And so, it just kind of like feeds into your day. I work from home. My company is completely remote, Zapier. We're 100% remote. And so I just have a lot more time on my hands than your like
Yeah.
average person, I think, to do this stuff too. And so, it kind of blends into my workday, but then I might work in the morning, get some stuff done, and then do some things online, and just kind of like all kind of blends together.
Yeah, I feel like most people have kind of the basic usage or like kind of lower Bloom's taxonomy usage of LinkedIn. They sort of understand, have a relatively uh, recent profile that's updated that people can look at periodically or occasionally put like good news or I'm looking for this job.
Yeah.
What's been interesting watching your stuff is I think I've been kind of pulled into there's like a whole ecosystem of LinkedIn influencers and like talent gurus and these kind of things. And it feels kind of slimy and maybe some of it is good. Like, how do you see that emergence of the LinkedIn influencer? Click on my stuff and you can do a call for $2,000 with me and I'll give you all the
Yeah.
secrets. Like, is that new? Is that always been there? What's
Um,
your take on that?
I don't know because I'm still relatively like new to the LinkedIn world, and I feel like it's definitely been there the whole time I've been on there. But I also started this in like 2022, so I don't know what it was like a decade ago. I mean, I was on LinkedIn before, but I was on LinkedIn the way a normal person is, where I would
Basically,
like
yeah,
hey, we have a recruiting fair coming up, if you're, that kind of
yeah.
thing. My company is hiring for this. Like, I wasn't just like super active or connected on there. I do personally find a lot of it like really kind of slimy and predatory. And I talk about that stuff a lot too. Try to like, when I catch things like happening, I'll comment and say like, hey, that's, a scam, whatever. I know people have to make money, but especially when it's like targeting people's like vulnerabilities, like a lot of the people who are selling things to unemployed people, like, and often just selling like a dream that's, you can break into tech, like take this course. It's like, it's just not going to happen in this job market. And so a lot of that stuff like really does bother me. I also think that's all social media. So on other platforms, it's people, pushing like crap, low quality products that no one needs. And on LinkedIn, it's, courses and coaching. Um, so I, I do personally like make money through my presence on LinkedIn through like working with brands, but I don't sell coaching. I try to do a lot of free things for job seekers. Like I do have a newsletter. It's totally free. There's no like, you know, subscribe to read this thing or
Paywall kind of
whatever.
stuff,
It's
yeah,
all free. However, and I offer like free coaching calls on there. It's kind of like first come, first serve. I try to share like resources and things like that because I feel like most of the stuff these coaches are offering is probably out there for free. And then I just let brands pay me for,
yeah.
I kind of consider it, they're giving me money. I work with them. That's how I compensate myself. And then I can kind of support people that need it for free.
If someone has no clue how the LinkedIn algorithm works, how would you summarize ways to get your stuff seen more often?
Um, I'll be honest that I'm probably not like the best at the algorithm stuff because I don't like
Take care. Okay.
follow those things or try to like game the algorithm as much. Um, Selfies seem to, a lot of
Oh,
people will attach like a personal picture or something like that. Definitely like clickbaity, inflammatory, attention getting, hooks. That's like any other social media. Very occasionally, like I'll kind of play into one, but I try not to do it too much because there's just a lot of rage bait out there.
yeah.
And I don't want to play into it too much, but that stuff does take off. There is something like really fun that's kind of like emerged on LinkedIn of more like irreverent content or,
Hmm.
kind of like humorous content, where, jokes, that kind of thing. Kind of either making fun of, corporate life or those sorts of things. So I think some of that stuff like really takes off and people respond well to it. Every now and then I'll post something that's kind of funny. Sometimes people don't realize it's sarcastic and then yeah. So one thing that the platform rewards is just your actual like time spent on the platform and engagement. So if you're like commenting on people's posts and engaging with them, then it's going to show your content to that person and it's going to show you more of that person's content
Hmm.
and your comments will show up on people's feed. So those are things that can also kind of drive engagement of your own content. And then LinkedIn, from what I've heard, they like for people to sort of write about things that are in their expertise, and that's something that maybe they're rewarding these days, meaning that like if your headline says you're a marketing manager and in tech, then your content about marketing at tech companies is more likely to get pushed
Hmm.
out than your content about what it's like to be a pet parent, or whatever. Yeah, so this is what I've heard. I don't fully know like the accuracy of that, but I would say that might be one thing for people to kind of think about is, are you writing from a place of expertise? And that seems to be part of what like LinkedIn is doing to try to um, be seen as a place for like professional content, for learning, for connecting with experts and hearing like thought leadership, whatever, that kind of thing. And so that's probably something I would suggest to people as well.
Yeah, that's the last thing I was going to ask. Would you recommend for people to maybe be more, I don't know if aggressive is the right word, but post more frequently about the things that they believe in their professional world, or to put hot takes, or to say it's actually this and not that? You should, is
Yeah.
that something that you would recommend, even if folks are happy in their job? Does it serve them well later? Does it serve them well in the moment? How would you think through that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would ask like their goals, I think, and like, what you could be doing instead of that, and
Right.
if that's like important to you. So I think if your goal is to sort of expand your network, if you maybe aspire to like content creation, if you yeah, like want to be seen as credible, like one of the things, the cool things that's happened is the amount of like media response and coverage I got. Like, I don't know that at any point in my career outside of when like Idea was launching, or Teach for America sometimes had something new launching and we would get local newspaper coverage. But once I started posting, I was like regularly, I mean, like Bloomberg, Fortune,
Oh, wow.
BBC, like I talked to New York Times once, like Washington Post, like at Wall Street Journal. I think any major publication you can think of, I've like been on at some point. And some of them, I have people who regularly, like every other week, they're like, "Hey, we have this article. Do you have any thoughts on it?" We'll just send me things. That stuff's cool. If like,
Yeah.
if you want that, it's
Yeah.
nice. Again, people might not want that, but like there's things like that that you can get out of it too. And so if someone's looking to like establish themselves as an expert in an area, then I think like LinkedIn's a good avenue, because that's where a lot of
Yeah.
people are searching to find like experts to connect with. And so yeah, I would definitely kind of suggest it for those reasons. I also think there's lots of other things you can do. But I will say, like, you know, a lot of people like reach out to me about opportunities just because I'm like visible and in their feed. And so if they're hiring someone, for a recruiting role, my name might be one that they like think of. And so I do think that there are those like professional things that, come with it. Or you can gain like those benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Cool.
but kind of depends because it's also a time commitment.
Yeah, for sure. Well, obviously, the best way for folks to find you is on LinkedIn. We'll put your info in the episode
Yeah.
description. But also, the place you work is super cool. I've enjoyed hopping on some of the webinars and seeing some of the AI
Yeah.
agents and all that cool stuff. What would you want folks to know about the actual real job that you have when you're not on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I love it. So yeah, Zapier is an AI orchestration automation platform. Can kind of help you bring like AI into any of the tools that you use, and it's also a really great place to work. So highly recommend if anyone is looking for their next move. We're 100% remote. I think it's a great culture. Lots of like really smart, nice people. Have you
Yeah.
built your first agent yet,
So not through y'all's company, but yeah,
or on
definitely,
anything? Yeah,
yeah, definitely build some bots to do some much better interview transcript stuff, and
yeah,
we've done really cool things with our performance evaluations internally, and like helping people craft much stronger narrative versions of that. So when you have your conversation, it sounds better. So yeah, there's definitely the sky's the limit. I think you're right.
I think that was actually like one of our first internal use cases was
Helps
performance
a lot. Yeah,
evaluation
for
as
sure.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
So
That's
very
cool.
cool.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll put that info in the episode description as well, Bonnie. Thanks for coming on. Thanks everyone for listening. Of course,
Yeah.
capture all of our past pods, all the places that you listen, Spotify and Apple and all the good places. And of course, we're in stunning 4K on YouTube. And until
You.
next time, we'll catch you soon.